Minasan, okarinasai. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Game News and Chill, where we are going to look at some weekly news that happened related to the game industry at least, and chill and discuss it. Not too much, actually, I was going to say not too much interesting happened this week, but that's not really true, is it? There was a couple neat question mark things that happened this week. We're going to go over them all pretty quickly and, give our thoughts on them. And, of course, end it with the weekly Famitsu sales analysis, which is about... we'll get to it when we get to it. Okay, so, without further ado... actually, Big Bernard has a comment here first. Yo, finished the Drakengard Vaz and it was fun watching you suffer playing it. It's funny you kept bringing up Ace Combat. Takuya Iwasaki, director of Ace Combat 3, is part of it. Plus, there are Ace Combat Easter eggs too. Well, there you go. That explains that. I'm glad you enjoyed the misery that was those VODs. Honestly, the most interesting part of those streaming that to me was because that was the playthrough where I got my new mic. You plan on finishing the game's endings? I want to. I just was so miserable playing it that I needed a break. I wanted to get to the final ending before Replicant came out, but then it came out and I was too miserable to go back even play it off stream. So I kind of lost my motivation to, but I probably should at some point, especially if there's enough demand for it. So not like much people are doing that, right? So might as well be one like the 5. Orange Laser Extreme Dawn. We'll get to that. But the first piece of news we're going to go over is pretty small, so let's get right into it. We're done talking Drakengard and Laser Dawns. Ta-da! So, Lost Judgment, I should say, got some attention this week. We got its opening cinematic, which I recommend you don't watch if you care about spoilers, but otherwise, it's pretty cool. And what's interesting about this to me, right? The state of the Judgment series in general is really interesting to me for a multitude of reasons. And for those who don't know, this is a sequel to Judgment, which is a game by the Yakuza devs, right? It's effectively their ongoing action series for those who don't like the direction Yakuza 7 took, right? With it being an RPG. And it's... One thing that frustrates me about all of this information coming out for it is obviously this part's a bit frustrating, like the fact that it's only for consoles right now, because I guess the success of the Yakuza games on PC just didn't really matter to them or something like that. I don't know, or at least maybe they don't think that any of the spin-offs would be as successful. I'm not exactly sure the reasoning, but that's pretty frustrating. Another thing that's really frustrating about this is the state of its sequel, because I really want to be excited and play this game near launch. I've even been thinking about just trying to pick up a cheap PS4 or something again, or maybe finally get a series or something. Just so I could play the original and its sequel. But the original game is technically on PC, but it's on the Stadia. Which, does anyone remember that? Not the Stadia. Of course you don't remember the Stadia. What I'm asking you is, do you remember the day that the original game, Judgment, or Judge Eyes if you're a patrician, partition, that's the word. Does anyone remember when they announced that this game was coming to the Stadia, the same week that the Stadia was announced to have just completely disbanded its game division? Stadia Chat V1. Apparently, I couldn't believe that they announced it literally hours before that. They announced the dismantle of everything that the Stadia was, and yet it still is somehow alive, the Stadia for one, and now there's probably some contract that means that the PC port that they've clearly already made for Judge Eyes or / Judgment is not coming. So that's really frustrating. One thing I don't know, man, I really want to play this when it comes out, but it's because everything I've seen about it is sick, but I have to play the first one first, and the state of playing that one, I would have to just commit to a console, or which I'd prefer not to do, honestly, or or I would get it on Stadia, which I'm also not in a million years ever going to do. Hell no, dude. So, yeah. Either way, Stadia got a lot of attention this week, including at the State of Play, and I'm always a big fan of that because these games and these developers are fantastic. Please try them out. One other small piece of news, or small-ish, might depending on who you are, it might be small, that came out this week, is Level 5 recruiting staff for a brand new RPG project. So for those who don't remember Level 5, I thought they were dead. Level 5. Did anyone else think that Level 5 was dead? I thought they said they were declared bankruptcy or something, or maybe I'm thinking of a different indie studio or indie Japanese studio that made RPGs. I thought if I type in Level 5 declares bankruptcy, I'll probably find an article. Maybe I'm wrong. No? I guess not. Huh. Anyway, I think I'm thinking of Professor Layton's studio that declared bankruptcy, actually, now that I think about it. I always just assume they're Level 5, but I think Level 5 are the people who make the, never heard of them. I think Level 5 were the ones, yeah, they made Ni no Kuni. They also made, I forget. They made me. I think their most recent project is Ni no Kuni, though. They made a lot of RPGs. Yeah, I thought they were dead. I think I'm thinking of Professor Layton guys, which had a similar name, but they aren't dead, I guess. I don't know. Surprise, surprise, whatever. Anyway, point being, they're hiring new staff for a brand new RPG project, and that's great because, to be honest, the only reason I put this in the column was because I thought they were dead. But they're not. Level 5 is alive, and they're still kicking, so God bless. Shout out to Level 5. All right. Next door. All right, this was a weird one, right? I promise after this we're going to get into the big news everyone wants to talk about. Assassin's Creed Infinity is the code name of the next Assassin's Creed game. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. So, does anyone... What's the last... A question I want to ask first for everyone. What is the last Assassin's Creed game everyone here has played? The last one I've played was... What was it called? It was the first sequel... Brotherhood, the first Ezio sequel. That was the last Assassin's Creed game I played. And it always surprised me that this series has continued to exist just after the third game, because that was the big finale game to the Desmond storyline, I think, right? But I guess no one really cared about the Desmond stuff anyway after the second game, so they just kind of kept trying to focus on the historic stuff. And whenever I checked out the newer games, I always thought that they looked worse than the original games. I don't know if that's nostalgia. The only AC game that mattered to me was Ace Combat. Black Flag is one of the only ones I'd probably be interested in playing, just because I like pirates. Pirates are pretty cool. Only new one, I should say. Yeah, but everything after Unity, like that new RPG shit they did with the Egyptian game and the Greece game, and now Valhalla too. They always looked like such trash to me. Yeah, I'm not really sure how this series has kept going, but I guess people just really like the formula, just the and the fact that the settings are always cool looking, I guess, right? Regardless, creating a new Assassin's Creed game almost every single year has probably become really tiring for developers. So you may be wondering, what the hell is Assassin's Creed Infinity then? Well, it's not just the next Assassin's Creed game. It is reportedly a massive online platform that evolves over time. So this isn't the first time a studio has attempted something like this, and this is the only reason I'm bringing this up, because it's interesting to me. They are, instead of making a new Assassin's Creed game every single year, what they're going to try to do is make just one Assassin's Creed game that they can just keep pumping content, purchasable content into for the next like 10 years. The 10-year plan, you've heard it before, maybe from some other developers talk about this mythical 10-year plan. In fact, I think Halo is trying to do the same thing with Halo Infinite, ironically the same name here. So yeah, the idea is that like you get your Assassin's Creed Infinity expansion Egypt, and then you get your expansion Europe or something like that, right? So they become RPG instead of medieval Hitman, kind of. Well, like they become RPG medieval Hitman. It's weird. I don't know. I never actually played them, those newer ones. But point being, well, how do you guys feel about this? Like this concept of like saying, listen, instead of just making a sequel every year, we're just going to keep updating the current game and adding content onto that, right? So it becomes, I guess, I'm basically asking you what you think of games as a service, I suppose. But it's not quite the same when I think of games as a service. I think of like one game that's constantly being added like cosmetics or maybe like maps, usually multiplayer style games. But this is a single player game, right? I imagine at least they're usually single player focused game with single player focused objectives. So the idea is it's a single player game that gets its sequels as DLC, I suppose. The only main problem I'd see with this is that you kind of lose the opportunity to innovate and make the games, what little differences there may have been between the previous Assassin's Creed games, those switch ups, those chances to make a brand new one mean sometimes a brand new engine, which means brand new animation or like brand new assets. You could do that, I guess, with this formula, but I'm not really sure if it would be as, it always would feel the same, you know? Like instead of like Assassin's Creed Black Flag feeling different from Assassin's Creed Unity or something like that, this would be still Assassin's Creed Infinity, but just the setting's different, right? So if you didn't like anything about Infinity, it's very likely to change, you know? And I think that's the one thing that worries me about this kind of stuff. I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way or get where I'm saying with this. But like basically, I think you should make a project and just be done with it, you know? Try to make it feel like its own complete thing, because when you release something like this, it's arguably never going to be complete, you know? Yeah, exactly. But that's what's different about this one, though. Not that it's not going to have that. It probably will. But it's a single player game, not a multiplayer one, right? I don't even like it when multiplayer games are games as a service sometimes. But at least with those ones, I get it, because like you're going back to play the same game over and over again. Might as well like add some like flashy things that pop up, like, hey, thanks for continuing to play, otherwise this wouldn't exist, or something like that. I don't agree with it, but I get it. With a single player game though, it feels like it takes away something that I'm not sure you're gaining much in return, you know? I mean, it's cheaper probably to do this. It's a big long-term investment in terms of money, but it's cheaper over time if you don't have to keep making a new one every year from scratch. But yeah, I don't know. Weird situation, weird franchise. I haven't cared about it in over a decade, so the only thing that was interesting to me about it was what it was doing, not who was doing it. I wouldn't be surprised to see more developers attempt something like this, though. So keep an eye out for stuff like this. Keep an eye out for games that have a code name Infinite or Infinity, because that means that they want it to never end. As you would imagine. All right, so now let's get to the big meat and potatoes of this week. There was one thing everyone wanted to talk about. Everyone was freaking out over. It was being hinted at for months and months, and we never kept not seeing it. We're like, where is it? Where is it? They finally revealed it. Here it is. The thing you've all been waiting for. Among Us Collector's Edition. Let's go. No. It's the Nintendo Switch OLED model, which launches on October 8th. So yeah, this was supposed, I guess, the thing that I'm using many air quotes here. Leakers were hinting at for it must have been months at this point, right? Sussy baka. Like, it must have been months, or maybe even more, that people were hinting at, like, a Nintendo Switch Pro coming into existence. As it turns out, most of the details around those things, those quote-unquote leaks, were lies. Obviously, Nintendo is always going to be developing a future platform or a piece of hardware, and this is probably true even right now. You know, they're probably developing whatever the successor is to the Switch as we speak. But people who thought that this OLED model was going to be it and that was going to be announced soon were clearly incorrect. Because this has no hardware changes whatsoever in terms of a spec level, right? It has the same, CPU or SoC, as the term is usually referred to as. Basically, it has the same chips inside, and the only thing that's changed is the dock and the screen, which is an OLED. Now, to be fair, OLED screens are very nice. If you've never used an OLED, well, you probably have used an OLED screen if you have a pretty recent phone. If you've ever wondered why stuff on your phone looks prettier than stuff on, say, like your TV or your monitor, which is an LCD, that's why. Because OLEDs basically mean that the contrast is infinite because they can turn off each pixel completely and individually, which means that you can have perfect blacks, right? And that's why they look nice. But this wasn't what people really wanted when they were hoping for a new Switch revision. They were hoping for a Nintendo Switch Pro, or as in a Nintendo Switch with higher capabilities. So you never use it in handheld mode? That's fair. But instead, it's more of just like a refresh, basically. Because in hindsight, it would make literally 0 sense for them to release a more powerful Switch right now, because to be perfectly honest, the Switch is still doing incredible in terms of sales, right? As we'll get into later, actually. And yes, it does suck that a lot of like new fancy looking games that are ported to the Switch don't tend to really be playable to a certain extent, or nearly as playable as they would be on other hardware, right? But at the same time, if there's no like market, if the market is still so satisfied with the standard Switch that that it's still selling as well as it is, you're kind of kneecapping your own sales by releasing a new piece of hardware. Usually, the reason why we have like the 5 to 7 year cycle for consoles is because that's around when interest typically fades and the sales peak. So they go, okay, now it's time to revitalize interest in the brand by releasing something new. The Switch is still too young, to be perfectly honest. And in hindsight, it would have been kind of stupid for them to do anything but this, which is just a better dock and a Switch with a better screen for the enthusiasts who are interested in it. And I should make this clear: this product is only for enthusiasts who probably who are just interested. And that's it, right? I think even Nintendo themselves said if you already have a Switch that has a dock, and you're content with it, don't buy this. It'd be a waste of money, right? The only thing that really like outrages me about this is that the Joy-Cons are unchanged. That pisses me off. Like, all the companies are guilty of this, but Nintendo's Joy-Cons, especially with their drift, is infuriatingly common. Like, all of my friends and my poor nephew, all their Joy-Cons drift. And it is infuriating to me that even after being sued multiple times because of it, they still haven't put out a new version of these Joy-Cons. So that sucks. This would have been a good opportunity to do that, but they didn't, because screw you. Send in your whole Switch and pay $80. On one hand, I would be upset because as a consumer, I want stronger hardware. On the other hand, if I was an early adopter, I wouldn't feel like I was missing out. Yeah. I would feel like I was missing out. Yeah, exactly. That's actually a thing that makes me happy about this, because I think the whole point, the reason why enthusiasts or like consumers like us want better hardware for the Switch is because they want to be able to enjoy their Switch more for a more variety of games. Because like, for example, I'm not going to get games like Resident Evil Remake 2 or Devil May Cry 5, or any like other big high budget looking third party games from Japan. I'm not going to be able to get any of those on my Switch because it just couldn't run them, right? And it would be nice that if I did buy a Switch, I would just be able to potentially play anything that comes from that nation, at least for me. That's all, because that's all I really care about. I'd be able to play basically anything from there on it, right? But I can't, because there are some games that just, they can't. It's not like the difference between a PS4 and a PS4 Pro. It's substantial. It can't run a lot of games, right? And that's why people are really desperate for, enthusiasts, I should clarify, are really desperate for a more powerful Switch, and as am I. But when you release one in the middle of the prime of the Switch's life like this, it would create a lot of issues for consumers as well. One not so being, a lot of games would probably have to be exclusive to that theoretical Nintendo Switch Pro, which means that consumers feel alienated, and that creates some distrust in the brand. And also it adds confusion to the mix, right? When you're going to buy, because that would make it so that there's 3 SKUs for the Nintendo Switch at that point, the Lite and the Pro and then the regular, right? And all of them would have slightly different, and 2 of them would have, one would have slightly different specs from the other 2, and the only difference for the one is that it would have no dock, and it would just create further confusion. And it's not, it wouldn't be a great idea, basically, in hindsight. And they have, business-wise, no reason to. There's reasons from a consumer's perspective not to. And overall, I think I'm actually glad that it was just an OLED model. That being said, I'm probably not going to buy one because I have literally no use for one. I barely use my Switch in handheld, too. Well, actually, I like to lay in bed with it sometimes, and I do like OLED screens, but, I mean, like, I have no interest, especially since the only thing that comes with the dock, which you can buy separately anyway, which I might honestly buy, since that was changed too, is it has a LAN port now. That's it. The dock has a LAN port now. Oh, and also has better like cooling, I guess, because there's more air ports, but that's it. It also looks fancier. But, yeah. So the dock has better air cooling, and it has a LAN port. They finally did it. It only took them 2 consoles too late to do it, but they finally put a freaking Ethernet port on their hardware, on their home console. Thank God. It's a shame that they didn't release it on the initial model, because I imagine this model isn't going to sell as well as the previous ones, which means that most people on Nintendo Switches are going to be using their garbage Wi-Fi. But at the very least, the standard dock actually that comes with this machine already has one built in, so you don't have to buy a stupid adapter like I did. You did lose one USB cable on the back, though, but I think that cable was used by anyone who used it. It was used by people like me for the Ethernet adapter, so it works out. I'm glad. I think that was a good decision. The internal storage was increased, which is good, but other than that, not much else is new. It's definitely not an exciting product like I think people wanted it to be, but in hindsight, this is probably the better decision to make. You don't want an exciting product quite yet, I don't think. Well, I shouldn't tell you what you should or should not want. That's up to you. But it would be a lot more frustrating, at least to a lot more people than me, if they released a platform where there would be exclusive games on it despite it still also being Nintendo Switch. So in the end, I'm kind of glad that they went on with this decision instead. And in this way, we also, when the successor platform does come out, it's just going to be a Switch 2 or whatever the hell, and hopefully it's backwards compatible. Nintendo used to be pretty good with that before the Switch, so I haven't lost complete faith in that concept. But yeah. Hey, look, there's the Diamond Pro remakes. Please don't be bad. I like those games. Anyway. Anyway, I think I've run out of things to say about the Nintendo Switch OLED model. It exists. It's cool for those who want it, but it's not a pro. Get completely dabbed on, leakers. You were completely wrong. And don't ever care about leaks. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Leaks are a disease. They're garbage, and it's usually just people trying to get attention. And don't give them the attention that they so desire. Thank you. All right. Aside from that, another really exciting, quote-unquote, thing happened this week. New State of Play, baby! This is another thing that it didn't have any leaks surrounding it, mind you. But I think it was something that people kind of had hyped up because PlayStation skipped E3, and it was like, oh, okay, so they waited a month, right? Maybe they do their own thing. Maybe they have something to show. That was a mistake to think that way. They clearly didn't. This is a 30-minute show that dedicated 9 minutes of it to just Deathloop gameplay, which, I mean, damn, they're really making the most out of that Deathloop deal that they made. That game looks fun, mind you, and I'm interested in playing it on PC. But, I mean, I've seen the gameplay before. You didn't have to show 9 minutes of it, in my opinion. But whatever. That wasn't the only thing they talked about, though. They also talked about... I'm just going to go over everything real quick because, honestly, I was like half awake for most of this. Moss Book 2. You guys remember Moss Book? Do you remember? Do you remember? Moss Book. It was the PSVR game. The little rat. Rat? Okay. Moss. I forgot this. You know what? I could talk as much shit as I want, but when I saw the rat, I recognized it. You know? When I saw this rat on my second monitor while I was doing something else when the State of Play was on, I recognized it as that one PlayStation VR game that came out like near the beginning of its launch. Like, yeah, I don't have much else to say about that. You remember Moss? I mean, it might be good. I don't know. But, I mean, I have a Quest 2 now, so I can do VR streams, by the way. But, this is a PSVR exclusive, and, like, I don't know, dude. Honestly, I don't even know what the game is. I don't even know why I'm still talking about it. Next. All right, then they showed this. 3Phonic announces a co-op multiplayer shooter, Arcageddon, for PS5 and PC. This was... ePhonic has announced a cooperative multiplayer shooter for PlayStation 5 and PC, parentheses, Epic Game Store. Early access? Oh, boy, howdy. How does it look? I don't even remember how it looks. I'm going to be honest with you. I genuinely don't. Presents a brand new IP. Who are these developers? Oh yeah, Ilphonic. I don't know who... Does anyone know who Ilphonic is? These guys look like they're from Osmosis Jones. Does anyone remember Osmosis Jones? Please tell me someone in this chat remembers Osmosis Jones. I am begging for someone to know who I'm talking about. I'm Googling him right now just to make sure. Look, I type in Osmosis and Jones is the first thing that pops up. Tell me they don't look. Tell me the character designs don't look like this. Anyone? Osmosis Jones? No? Alright, moving on. Anyway, that game looks kind of bad. I'm not really interested in it, I'm gonna be real. It looks kind of like clunky and like not polished. I just don't even care about Sony anymore. I can't believe I actually got swept up defending my lady PS3 honor. Also, Osmosis Jones was Kino with cartoon and live action. See, okay, someone in this chat remembers Osmosis Jones. That's all I cared about. That's honestly the only reason I even included this. It's because of, like, they reminded me of Osmosis Jones. This guy in particular, the guy with the fake hair on the right here in the front. Other than that, key features: play solo or with up to 3 friends. I mean, not just to dab on all the poor developers that actually managed to get a shot at the state of play, but like none of these games looked really interesting or innovative, so it was hard to get excited for any of them. Speaking of uninteresting or uninnovative, Tribes of Midgar Season 1, The Wolf Saga. A look at the game's first season of content. This line right here, if you ever want me to get immediately uninterested in your project, always include this line, please. It saves so much time for both of us. Look at all this. Here's your Season 1 content, bro. Please be excited for a game that is releasing with all of this stuff currently unfinished. Who's the spy? Gearbox? Gearbox. Next. What else? What they show next? Fist. Foreign Shadow Torch. Oh, this is the game with the giant rabbit. Published by Billy. Uh-oh. This is CPC spyware, I can already tell. Yeah, this I don't trust this. I immediately don't trust this. Does it look good at least? It's a side-scrolling 2D action game where you're a rabbit with a giant fist. It's also a drill? I mean, it looks like it plays okay. There's probably people that want to fuck that thing. So, that's a plus for some people. I'm not one of them, but it's a plus. The combos look kind of fun. No one's going to buy this. All right, next. All right. I liked this one. And by like this one, I mean that I liked that they're trying something like this, but I'm not sure it'll be good. This is, what was this again? Hunter's Arena Legends. What a fucking awful name. Hunter's Arena Legends? Brother, you gotta try put at least one original word in there that's not used in every title imaginable. I am begging you. Currently in early access on PC. Well, that's kind of sleep-inducing. But how they described this was, the initial pitch from the trailer, I believe, was what happens when you mix fighting games with battle royales? And my answer when I heard that was a complete fucking shit show. But here it is. And it looks neat? Maybe? I mean, it was probably the most unique game that they showed at this presentation, right? So, I mean, it was something. Right? Sounds like a made-up game for some movie. It kind of has that look to it, don't it? I guess because we don't have we do have THQ with THQ Nordic, but we don't have studios commonly making movie tie-in games. But I feel like they would look like this now if they were made nowadays. Yeah, I'm just not really sure how it will work and because I love Anarchy Reigns, the Platinum game, if anyone remembers that. Mix of gameplay and game cinematics, final game subject to change. Captured on PS5 and PS5 engine on PC. Mix of gameplay. That's so weird. Anyway, I liked Anarchy Reigns, and that was kind of like a big action 3D fighting game, right? Oh my god, the animation looked terrible. But I'm just not really sure. I feel like in a battle royale setting, having a fighting game with big long combos like this will be really fucking obnoxious, right? The only way I could see it working is if you go the For Honor route, right? Because For Honor is kind of a fighting game when you think about it, you know? So if you go that route, it might work out for you. But other than that, nah. Well, I think the biggest killer for me, though, is the art style is really boring. I mean, it's not bad, it's just kind of dull. Anyway, that was the other thing that they announced. Next, they talked about Lost Judgment existing, and they showed off some more gameplay. That's it. All right, next. Shout out to Lost Judgment. I just wanted to put it in here again because I like that it got... Wait, what? Digital Deluxe Edition includes 3-day early access? Oh, Sega. All right, anyway, next. Oh, this is Demon Slayer. That was the other thing that they showed off. They showed off an anime thing at a Sony event. Or back to grassroots, guys. I mean, this is coming to everything, as you can plainly see here. I'm actually surprised it's not coming to Switch. But another look at the game story mode. This is by CyberConnect 2, right? So expect it to play like the most mindless game you've ever played in your entire life. It'd be honestly kind of bad in terms of how it plays, but it'll look really nice. That's all CyberConnect 2 has ever done with every game that they've ever made. They make nice looking games that play like Duty. Next. Death Stranding Director's Cut launches September 24th. Alright, so we need to talk about something here. Right? Death Stranding director's cut. I played Death Stranding. Did anyone else in here in this chat play Death Stranding? Because I'm going to tell you something. I've played almost all of Kojima's games, including Death Stranding. Calling this a director's cut is the most bafflingly stupid fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. For one good reason. You cannot tell me, Mr. Kojima, that there was something from that game that you wanted in Death Stranding that had to be cut because someone interfered. I don't believe you if you try to tell me that. That game was pure Kojima. It wasn't like, oh, Kojima had a different vision, but then it got interfered by like publisher who cut some scenes. No. If there was anything not included in Death Stranding, it was because of time. That's it. It wasn't that his vision was tainted, so they had to re-release it with his vision of the game's story. Absolute bullshit. He's using the director's cut title because he wants to be seen as a director. That's what movies do, right? When they re-release things sometimes. That's it. That's the only reason this is called director's cut. It's just Death Stranding expansion pass otherwise. I also enjoyed Death Stranding. I thought the story was the biggest piece of shit Kojima's ever written his entire life, and it made me feel embarrassed when people spoke sometimes. But I actually thought the gameplay was also pretty good. The one problem I had with the gameplay, and this is actually relevant to this director's cut, is that actually delivering packages by yourself or just delivering packages at all becomes too easy as the game goes on. And I guess that's part of the point of the game, but the most complex and interesting part of the gameplay is the walking, right? Because they made like this whole rotomotor system, or rotomotor. How do you pronounce that? You know what I'm talking about. Basically, he has like this whole like physics system from every step that he takes, and that's what makes delivering the packages fun in like this weird way. But by the end game, you can set up all of like the zip lines and stuff, and it makes the actual package delivery non-existent. You don't have to actually do anything yourself. You just go on the zip lines and zip. Once you actually get done setting up all the zip lines, the game is no longer hard, and it's like you basically don't have to even play it anymore. And it kind of feels self-defeating, that the game is just gets so substantially easier over time. It feels like it takes away something. But as far as like and it makes it hard to replay. But the initial experience was pretty fun, in my opinion. The story was just hot ass. I hated the story. Every character was awful. But there's going to be more story with this Death Stranding director's cut. As it says here, new story missions, battles, and more. It should, I 100% agree with you, this should just be DLC for the original game. I don't know why it's being treated as a PS5 exclusive. It probably just because of some deal with Sony, right? I mean, Sony is part of the reason this game got made in the first place, so fair enough, at least to my knowledge. But I'm not really sure. I mean, software on PS5 doesn't really sell that well yet still, so I'm not sure. I would be surprised at the very least if this director's cut version doesn't also come to PC, just like the original version did, right? So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Still, that aside, as far as what the definitive experience of Death Stranding actually contains, again, new story missions and apparently improved combat, shooting, and added delivery features. Yes, there is also Death Stranding cart, which I mean, it's Kino in a very ironic way. It's kind of cringe Kino when I looked at it. I'm not convinced it'll actually play good, but it's something. I hope the stealth aspect of this game was pretty awful, so I am hoping that it is improved. Because Metal Gear Solid 5 is still probably like the best controlling and stealth game ever made, right? So, and this was like a substantial step downward from that, but it still had like the same. It had the potential to be as good, but it just wasn't, right? And I think a lot of that was because of the tools were more focused around delivery rather than, interacting with the guards. So I don't know how much the upgraded melee, like being able to drop kick someone, or these maser guns, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean, or having a mounted machine gun. I'm not really convinced this is going to add much, in my opinion. the shooting and the melee were already the weakest parts about the game, and it makes sense to try to improve them in the re-release, right? I'm glad they're trying, but it's not really something that was the focus of the game anyway, so I'm not really sure you should waste time improving it, you know? That aside, again, new story content. I mean, we won't know what that's like until we actually get to it. And here's the other thing. Additional delivery support. So they're adding more stuff to make it so that you don't have to play the game as hard. I can't stress this enough. Like this one's cool. I like the jump ramp. But what the fuck was with this guy? He just plays the game for you. What the hell is that, man? Like, does that not kind of take away from the whole point? I don't know. Whatever. Jump ramp looks cool at least. That's fun. I like that. And here it is, Fragile Circuit. I feel, again, I must reiterate, this is probably going to control the worst fucking racing game you've ever played in your life. Because the driving controls in this game were also not great. So I can't imagine this, like it's not going to be even close to even Dragon Kart from Yakuza 7, and Dragon Kart's just a shitty Mario Kart, so I don't really see how this is going to be much better. I just want to point out something. Go back a couple frames. Oh, you see this character on the right here? Bernard, tell me if you agree with me. This is the worst character Kojima's ever written. You can't see my mouse hovering over her. I'm circling her right now. But the character that Sam is shaking hands with, this is the worst character Kojima's ever written, and probably one of the worst characters I've ever seen in fiction. That might be hyperbolic, but I believe it. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, that's Death Stranding's director cut, though. If you never played Death Stranding, obviously this would probably be a good opportunity to, and you also own a PS5, as it seems to be exclusive to that for now. I'm kind of interested in new story content, especially whatever they're this not Metal Gear. Absolutely the worst. All right, glad you agree. As for whatever the new story content is, even though the story is awful. Whatever that Metal Gear section is, because I actually like Metal Gear, I guess I'm kind of interested in whatever the hell that is. But I shouldn't get myself hyped up for the story, because I did that once, and that was unfortunate, the results of that. So they announced that at the State of Play 2, though. That was probably the most interesting thing, I guess, that they showed at the State of Play. But again, I don't really know why it has to be PS5 exclusive. Also, to upgrade to it, if you have the PS4 version, you have to pay $10. Whatever, man. Speaking of whatever, man. Now, you may be wondering, Jake, why'd you put this on here? Honestly, I put this on here for one specific reason. One, when you guys see this logo, who do you think of? Because I guarantee whichever person you're thinking of, like individual that used to work at this company that you're thinking of, they probably don't work there anymore. And so whenever I see this logo, I just think of an empty shell, dude. And just seeing that just kind of made me sad. And that and one other thing is the only reason I want to include this. This is a new Way Forward game. I typically like Way Forward games, and it's published by Arxis, right? Think of that one too. Oh boy, not him. I think of Bernie Burns, the creator, the Red vs. Blue guys. But anyway, the other thing, the only reason I wanted to mention this: why is Ruby still going? Are they still making seasons? Oh, that was Funhouse. You're right, actually. Anyway, that's technically Rooster Teeth 2, so there you go. Still, that aside, Ruby's still going? Really? Also, I know they don't have the original character designer of Ruby anymore, because the original character designer was Monty Ohm's wife, which, if you don't know, Monty Ohm was the original animator behind Ruby and the original creator of it, who died, very unfortunately died, during the second season, near the end of the second season. and which is a shame because he was one of the best 3D animators to ever exist in terms of making fight designs at least, or designing fights at least. But after he died, they cut all contact with Monty's wife, so she can get to make all the redesigns. So all of these characters, like this is Blake, I think, that's Ruby, and you saw the others earlier, like Yang and Vice, I think are the other two, right? Though they pronounce it Weiss because they're American. Yeah. What the fuck are these designs? What happened? Not only what Ruby's still happening, but two, why does she have like 20 fucking belts? What is she, a Kingdom Hearts character? Why does she have like this thing over her other thing? Why is she wearing like overalls? What happened? The original designs are so good. That's the only reason I really included this. I just kind of wanted to shit on the new designs of all these characters from this show that is clinging to life, to my knowledge. I mean, it must still be popular to some people because it's getting games. This game kind of looks like shit, by the way, but they hired Nomura. Nomura makes better character designs than this, though, right? Well, I say that, but we also got Chaos just recently, so maybe not, actually. Oh, no. God, I just fucking hate Chaos, dude. I just really want to kill Chaos. That was the... By the way, that was... this wasn't actually shown in State of Play. We're done with the stuff that was shown at State of Play. They've shown everything. We've gone over everything. And so yeah, there wasn't a lot shown from State of Play. They did show another 9 minutes of Deathloop, but that was it. I just included this for the memes. A lot of people were expecting we were going to see more FF16 or even more of Chaos at the State of Play, right? But no. In fact, we didn't get any FF16 news from the State of Play, but we did get some from Yoshi P after the fact, who said, the scenario is complete, the voice recording is in final stages, more. So, there's not going to be any Final Fantasy 16 news at Tokyo Game Show either, unfortunately. But he says that the game's development is progressing smoothly. Since it's Yoshi P, not Nomura, I believe that. You know, I'm still very interested in this game. I hope it's not actually PS5 exclusive at launch. You know, I heard like when they first showed it, they said it was coming to PC. But then they had to take that down, probably because of Sony marketing, like interfering or something like that, right? So, unfortunately, if it does come to PC, it might be coming to the Epic Games Store because they seem to have... We know that FF7 Remake's coming to Epic and Kingdom Hearts came to Epic, so that seems to be where Square Enix is comfortable releasing their PC titles now, unfortunately. But aside from all of that, FF16 still looks pretty cool, and it's progressing smoothly. So... That's good. That's very good. I hope this game is good, man. It wasn't at the State of Play, though. So, the State of Play was a bit of a snore. It's the way it is, though, you know, man. Never expect anything from those things. Even just the presentation of them is really boring, you know? Makes me... I miss... liking PlayStation. I feel like I shit on them, like at least to a small degree, almost every week, inadvertently or like subconsciously. And I have to make this very clear. The reason why seeing this stuff like this for a game that I'm interested in upsets me so much is not because I hate PlayStation, because I really used to like them, and they became so Western, you know, and it's just annoying. I just wish they still made games I liked, you know? And every so often you see that there is a PS5 exclusive title or something, you know? And that's, of course, fine. But I wish they still... I wish it wasn't only just, like, big stuff like this. And it was... I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling at this point. Basically, FF16 looks cool, and I hope it comes to a platform I own. All right. Speaking of platforms, Famitsu sales of the week. Yay! This is from 6/28 to 4th of July, technically. Yeah. That's the main reason, you know. They just don't make interesting games, I don't think. They make good tech demos, but they don't make really fun games to me. anymore, which is a shame because they used to. Like, I love my PS2. I still have it hooked up. Oh well. Anyway, they've clearly, I mean, if you look at these Famitsu sales, you can see why maybe that PlayStation has lost some interest in Japan and their types of games, I guess. But it's partially their own doing, Like, they just gave up the second that they lost the second that the Switch PS4 started losing to Switch. And it's just like, actually, even before that. So it's just, I don't know, man. Whatever. On the hardware side, the Switch family sold 84,000 units. That's not surprising if it was a holiday weekend, and the Switch is still a fucking insanely huge beast over there. It's conquering. Again, I want someone to come over and humble them. And to be fair, the PlayStation 5 family is selling better than they used to. Both it and the PlayStation and the Xbox consoles are about selling the same that they did last week, but both of those numbers are higher than they've been for a long time, right? So I guess the stock situation is getting better. This still surprises me the most, though, that the Xbox Series family is selling over 3,000 units. That's still extremely surprising to me. Now, I don't think this means that Xbox is suddenly going to become like a popular brand in Japan. Far from it. But I'd sooner believe PC becomes more popular. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is more popular than Xbox in Japan. But I will say that this is cool because it just creates more competition, and they've been trying, unlike Sony, they've been really trying to get into the Japanese market through various means. Now, I don't think all those means have been entirely successful, but clearly it's having some impact, so congrats to them. It's selling more than the PlayStation 4 is weekly. So, I mean, that shouldn't be impressive, but for Xbox it is in this country. So, I get a big shout out to that. As far as software sales go, Mario Golf continues has legs. Of course it does, the Mario game. Same with this other Nintendo exclusive, Game Builder. Ring Fit continues to do well. God bless Ring Fit. The game is amazing. Minecraft. This is surprising. The Nintendo Switch version of Samurai Warriors has more legs than the PS4 version, though not by much, and the PS4 version still sold more. But I expected these both to just completely plummet off. Though I guess it's a Dynasty Warriors game, so I probably shouldn't expect that in Japan. Still, Switch version outsold the PS4 version this week. That's kind of surprising because usually those types of games do better on platforms that they don't run like shit on. Mario Kart 8, of course. Miitopia, of course. Rest of these are mostly Switch titles. Any new games? Moshi kashite obake no shatekiya Tekiya for Nintendo Switch. I have no idea what the fuck that is. It sold 4,000 units though, so if it's a small indie studio, I mean, congrats. Summer Pockets, Reflection Blue prototype. Is it like another Reflection Blue game? What are those games? Are they like visual novels? Are they porn? I'll buy it. And nothing else new. Oh, Scarlet Nexus, a PS5 game. We found one. I think it's the only one on here, right? Yeah, Scarlet Nexus. I mean, is Scarlet Nexus not PS5 doing better? Or is it even on here? Oh yeah, there it is. Never mind. I mean, that's probably the best performing PS5 game I've seen. That's not true, actually. Is it? I don't know. Either way, we got one PS5 game on here, so that's something. And here you can see the detailed hardware numbers. Series X, it's doing work. Again, I'm very surprised. They are VNs with magical high school girls. Soul. I'm again, like this like you could also say is surprising and like a big turnaround, right? Which it is. But I'm just, you have to understand, this nation makes like this selling over 1,000 would have been surprising to me. Yeah, I also primarily do that, but like I imagine the marketing for the Japan version of Scarlet Nexus was probably handled by someone else. Or maybe it was handled by Xbox, but just no one cared. Either or, you know? That's an example of Microsoft trying to advertise them as like a partially Japanese, not focused, but Japanese caring company, I guess is the term they would probably prefer I use. Sorry, it's a JRPG, an important distinction. Ah, you fool. Anyway, that's basically all of the software news in terms of sales in Japan. So yeah, as far as what's changed this week, nothing. Nintendo's still conquering the nation. PlayStation is doing not as good as its brothers, as its previous iterations, so it just needs to start releasing more software that nation cares about, but, I mean, they don't seem to be too interested in doing that. The Xbox is doing better than expected, but there's no software sales anywhere on these charts, so it's arguable how much this actually matters. I don't know. That's about it. It sold more than a PS4, which still surprises me. That's the only reason that it surprises me at all, honestly. Oh, small minor update, by the way. I got too cocky. Small minor little update, actually. One little addendum to the news story that my friend linked me earlier. So, ignore the sketchy ass looking website. So for anyone who played Resident Evil Village on PC, it finally got cracked. You may be wondering, I'm not a dirty pirate. I don't pirate things. Nor shouldn't you. That's not what I'm talking about here. I already bought the game and I played it with its garbage DRM implementation. For those who don't know, Resident Evil Village on PC uses Denuvo, and it has probably the worst DRM Denuvo implementation I've ever seen in a game, where it causes it to stutter every single time you shoot an enemy or get hit by one. Because I don't want to get into the dirty details. It's because they wrapped it around like the achievement system, and that way, and whenever the achievement system tracks like a new kill or a bullet shot or something like that for its, whatever it's tracking, it pauses because it also checks to see if you're running a legitimate copy of the game. It's fucking awful. Basically, the game was cracked, and since the cracked version obviously doesn't have any of its DRM, issues completely fixed. Capcom has still chosen to not update the game, so if you have bought this game, I recommend and encourage you to download the cracked version if you have bought it on Steam, because since Capcom refuses to fix the issue, they have left us no choice if you want to play the game smoothly. Still mad about this. Still butthurt about this. I am extremely still butthurt about this, because I cannot believe there has not been an update for this game on PC yet. Still! Piracy Protection is encouraging me to go download an illegal copy. Even though I've already bought it. Just because it runs better. It's fucking insane, dude. It's so stupid. Whatever. That's my last little big tangent for tonight. All right, and that covers the news for this week. Thank you. Kind of a bit shorter this week, but there wasn't that much to talk about. Mostly just boring state of play stuff. But I still had fun, and thank you all for talking. You were all a joy to hang out with as usual. Tomorrow, to make up for the short stream, I'm going to be doing a noticeably longer Kingdom Hearts stream, because I want to try to get through that game, at least Sora's story, as fast as possible, because I want to start streaming The World Ends With You before its sequel comes out, because I still need to finish that game. Watching the SGDQ finale. I might be, but my friends want to play board game online and also have to work on a bunch of case on fan art, so I might just have it on a second monitor. You said there's going to be a Kingdom Hearts 2 run, right? I might watch that. I love me some Kingdom Hearts 2 speedruns. Those are fucking great. Kingdom Kino? Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I honestly, it's completely unrelated to the news here. In fact, let me switch over here. Second. I barely have to use the transition, so I like to take advantage of it. Yeah. Speaking of Kingdom Kino with Chain of Memories, that story, especially with the Japanese dub, is so much better than I remember it being. Like, significantly better than I remember it being. Like I think the English version is kind of hurt by the stilted delivery because of the lack of lip sync changing. So like the otherwise pretty good actors have to talk over Japanese lips, and it's just really awkward. They have all these awkward pauses. But finally being able to experience it without that, it's just like, whoa, really good. I'm really enjoying my time with that game. Much more so than I did with 3. All right, well, I hope you all enjoy your speed runs and whatever else you're going to be doing throughout the day, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Kingdom Hearts Kino. I need to come up with I need to figure out a new Yugi image to do the shop for. I might be in the SGDQ chat, although I think you have to subscribe to chat in there now. Hit you with a whisper from there. All right. I'm gonna head out for now, though, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy all your stuff and stay safe. God bless. Jana. Bye bye.